Welcome to this session. This session will focus on the risk of AI mostly and cybersecurity for boards. And if you can change the slide, Liselotte, we're very, very happy to have with us today Martin Althen, President of Securitas Digital, also a board member, and also Anna Cernat, also a board director, and they will tell us a bit more about themselves. And myself, I'm the operations director at the Board's Impact Forum. We also have with us today Liselotte Engstam, that is the chair and also a board director. If we look quickly into the agenda, so we are going to have first a little introduction by myself and Liselotte. We are going to have a presentation by Anna Cernat. Then we have another presentation by Martin Althen, and then we have a poll and we have a peer exchange. So we have breakout rooms and we try to discuss these topics with each other. We come back, we have a panel discussion, and we wrap up for the day. It would be really, really good if you can keep yourselves muted, but feel free to use the chat box. Just feel free to write a bit where you are, if you have questions, reflections, references, etc. The webinar is being recorded, and we take away the breakout rooms, of course, so you have privacy in your discussion. So just please email us if you have any questions. If you can change the other slides,
yeah,
please.
maybe we should just say that, of course, it's Chatham rules, which means that what's said here you can learn from, you can take all of the material, etc. But the things that relate to actual people when we're sharing experiences, of course, that's just for you.
Yeah, very good point. Thank you for that, Liselotte. To really create a safe space for sharing. So we have been coming back and back to this slide. So those of you who are taking the training program, you have seen this. But just to give you a bit of a context, this session today is part of a bigger training program on responsible AI for boards. And this training program is based largely on a research project that Liselotte, Robin Tegland from Chalmers, and myself did a few years ago, together with a funding from Vinnova, which is a Swedish innovation agency, together with Combient, which is a group of the largest Nordic industries, their digital ecosystem. And we've done this research. And in this research, we really have identified these three main areas that we are presenting to you here, that when we are looking into the role of boards, we are looking fundamentally in three areas. So the guidance of the AI operational capability and the supervision of the governance capability. And all this has to really be set within the board's accountability, the role, the competence, the structure, etc. So you have to work with the board in itself, and then the board also needs to work in these two areas with the organization. For today's session, we're really focusing on the board supervision when it comes to data ethics, black box decision making, and AI cybersecurity. So this is our focus for today. If you want to take it away, Liselotte, please.
Okay, thank you so much. And this is actually based on surveys that we do both outside but also within the programs, where we ask the boards a number of questions which is relating to AI. In this case, we're asking them how they feel they have established ethical AI practices and some kind of compliance on that. And as you can see, we have a bit more to do. We also asked them about the cyber resilience part, where people are slightly more ahead, basically most likely pending on that was already quite a lot on the agenda for many boards. So we're just trying to lift ourselves up a bit to think about what are the top risks of AI for boards. And before we diving into the traditional, more operational risks, the first risk is actually the risk of disruption. So the biggest risk for many companies who are not progressing will be that other companies will both be able to take down their productivity cost, their productivity, they will improve their productivity and take down the cost, but also be able to offering more tailored offerings to their customers. In the operational risks, there's of course a number of areas. So it's the actual adoption. Who do we give access to? How do we implement it? Do we do it across the team and across the entire company? Do we do it in certain groups? The partner is actually a really important area. So it's both what are we basing this on in terms of the LLMs, the actual providers, which are the providers, and especially if you think about the expansion, that you need to be able to try to stay with as much as the same LLMs. That now starts to have a geopolitical impact. Of course, it's a lot around the talent and the talent base. We're talking about training people in AI. We're finding now that absolutely everybody needs training in AI, just different versions. To find the ROIs, so many companies are now in pilot stages and starting to go into getting the feedback and usefulness. So the ROI, the return on investment, many are starting to get into discussions around IP, which is particularly based on a lot of organizations which are already very dependent on IP. And then, of course, the area that we discuss a lot here at Boards Impact Forum, the entire area of sustainability. So to find the balance of both the environmental base and actually understanding what this consumes and what it will make to any commitments that's already made, but also the employee and partner impact that this will have. A very big risk for us, both in general already before, but it's accentuated, is the cybersecurity risk, and we will come back to that. And then we have a lot of challenges around the reputational risk, and this is a bit more translucent for us because it goes towards the bias, the data privacy, which means we really need to have good governance of data. And the transparency, we have to take decisions whether we are actually going to lean towards the decisions made by the AI and how we actually guardrail that. And then, of course, an increasingly focus on legal risk. So the topics that board directors find hardest to oversee are these topics. So AI, cybersecurity, talent below the C-suite, corporate culture, digital transformation, the climate and environment, and regulatory compliance. You can see that these topics actually comes to all, and this is from a survey done by the corporate director organization, the global one. We're not going to go through legal. We actually have a bit of a legal focus also within the program for those taking that. But just to mention that when we discuss ESG at the board level, this is very much in the G area, and many companies are now moving a lot of the AI and a lot of the cyber into the G area of their sustainability. And in the G area, if you're based in EU, should say EU AI Act. I'm sure Australia is moving forward as well. But this is EU AI Act. We have the NEDs. So the EU AI Act, we will come back to. The NEDs 2, we will shortly come back to. Then we also have a lot of other acts that impacts this. The Digital Services Act, Digital Market Act, GDPR. I can just say that one of the things that we have done in 2 of my boards, we're asking now our leaders to come back with a map to actually see a bit better across the different legal structures and how they are affecting us, because all of this needs to be in a judgment on what's affecting us. On the NEDs 2, this is the quickest version, but on the NEDs 2, that comes into force in October. NEDs 1 has already been there, but that has been with a smaller group of impacted organizations. It's now expanding, so most of us will have it. And these are areas where we need to be able to actually know that we have done really proper evaluations as a board. So in the risk management, there's stipulation what we need to look at, the policies, what technical measures we have to actually control and test this, how do we set up our incident management, and how are we also, they're expanding it into the entire supplier area. So that's another area we all need to be a bit more informed about. So the AI Act, this is what I'm not going to go through it in details, but it's just good to know that the AI Act actually is already in force and it has to be fully implemented by August 2026. We have 2 years. They classify risks in 4 areas. And some of us actually have risks in some of these areas, but we might not even know about it. Most of us will be on this kind of minimal or limited risk. But some of us actually have it within an as easy thing as analysis of job applications, which a lot of companies already do. And we now need to make sure that that is actually within the area. The fines have jumped up a bit from GDPR, so it's important for us to actually get ourselves more informed around this area. And I think the other thing that's really important for us all to understand is that it actually classified who are the involved parties. So both providers of the base, if we build something on, we are also providers if we only deploy it. So you can see there's an entire area. One of the things that most companies are lagging of is to actually even have a register. So actually trying to understand what do we already have, so that we can start to know whether we are in any of these areas and how do we use it. The capability in AI governance, we're going to come back much more to that, but it also goes to both the ethics, the actual operations, and the security. And people are talking a lot about the different levels, and that we're putting out principles and policies, and they are underpinned many times by different standards. So this is just a structure for us to think through it. As a minimum, we need to think through whether we can guide our company without AI principles. If not, try to get it out quickly and then consider whether we should have policies for it. That we know that our organizations will have to follow. And basically start with the easiest version, an update from management. Where are we on these things? Especially for a lot of us, the majority of AI we will use will be from tools that we bring in. So 40% of all of the different enterprise tools will bring in AI. Have we looked through the contracts and adjusted that so we know the responsibility we have as customers for them? Because we have to remember, as boards, we're responsible for the usage of AI and the impact of it, not just the things we develop, but also the things we use in our organization. So the dilemmas for boards are typically around the balance of these innovation part versus the standards and the cybersecurity, to encourage an agile development and uphold a strict governance. So take calculated risks, you can say, and trying to get AI integrated into business while adhering to complex regulations, especially if we operate globally, because the regulation I've talked about is just EU. The regulation going broader is expanding to a number of different areas, and we need to actually have a view on where are the regulation in the different areas we operate. And then maintain the transparency at the same time as protecting intellectual property. Now, I'm delighted to invite Anna. So Anna works in the financial services industry. She's a brave person and she sits both on the National Bank of Greece, but also on a number of commercial banks. And has, of course, during her time in financial services, who were really early on to actually look at the area of cybersecurity, but also very interesting as they are further on moving on. Anna, warm welcome.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the warm introduction. Indeed, I'm sitting on several boards in the financial sector in Romania, Greece, and in the past also other countries in the Balkans. I'm not an IT expert, so like many of you, I'm a business expert who stepped up to boards, and now I understand that I need also to be at a different level when it comes to cybersecurity and understanding the risks that we are facing these days. Let's start. So today we will talk about 3 topics. Why cybersecurity matters to you, the board, what level of cybersecurity awareness you need, and how we can be successful against cyber threats by shifting from traditional, sometimes superficial metrics to those that truly inform strategic decisions and align with our evolving risk appetite. Next, please. So, cybersecurity in the age of AI is not just about fighting off the hackers with some tech. It's about making sure we're not leaving the door open for trouble. AI is incredibly smart, and it can also work against it. And I have to give you an example. These days in Greece, we fenced off a very big DDoS attack on banks. And definitely we have to be aware that attackers these days, they use AI tools in order to attack banks, institutions, particularly larger ones. Next slide, please. So many years ago, actually 8, Elizabeth Denham reminded us that cybersecurity belongs in the boardroom, not just with IT. As AI continues to evolve at an unprecedented pace and call to actions rings louder. Our commitment to cybersecurity must match the rapid advancement of AI technology. Next slide. So, I've introduced just one slide on accountability and governance, as Liselotte just mentioned before about a set of new regulatory frameworks. I would just mention a couple of them here because they place direct responsibility for supervision proper supervision of cybersecurity and responsible use of AI on the shoulder of the board members. So it's not anymore collective. We as board members, we are accountable directly if something wrong happens. And of course, we have to look at a number of things that much more closely. We cannot anymore leave them up to the IT and our IT management, and we must have a higher level of understanding of what it takes to be secure. We cannot be always 100% secure, and we'll be talking about that as well. Next slide, please. So we have to think about how much risk we are comfortable with in our own context. As Liselotte mentioned, it is a balance, a delicate balance, because if we are too cautious, we will not use the marvelous tools that actually encompass AI. If we are too bold, we expose ourselves. We're here to find that sweet spot between where we're moving forward safely, but not too cautiously, so that actually we are missing out on the opportunities. This balanced approach guides our investment and strategy in cybersecurity, ensuring it's aligned with our business objectives. And we have to remember, this is not a set and forget it kind of deal. You know, we need to permanently be alert. Conditions change, especially due to AI, so we have to adapt permanently. Next, please. So let's see what is the right level of cybersecurity. Next. Sometimes cybersecurity is disconnected from the boardroom. Sometimes technical jargon can be overwhelming, but the solution is not to skip the topic. And we don't need to become IT experts. We just need to have the right level of understanding and insight to make the decisions. So from the operational teams to the boardroom, the information must be relevant and actionable. And the board level, we are focused on strategic insights. We need visibility on the big picture risks and governance, leaving the details to the management and their technical teams. Next, please. So let's have an example here of a cyber security dashboard. And this is something tailored for the board. Of course, our IT heads, they definitely have much more detail. But in my view, this is the right kind of information for our level. So first of all, we need to know what is the current versus desired risk level. And it's important because it reflects the risk appetite we've set and how we are actually measuring up to it. Threat intelligence, that has actually three parts: general trends, industry-specific threats, and risk unique to your company. And this segmentation helps pinpoint where you need to pay attention. The risk posture is where we evaluate our risks at their core. What would impact us and how likely it is to happen. It informs the overall current risk level that's crucial for our strategic decision. In NIST compliance, the dashboard uses an NIST framework as a benchmark, but it's adaptable to other frameworks if needed. PLA, protection level agreement. This is about an important transition from traditional, sometimes narrow metrics to a more enlightened approach where protection level agreement, PLAs, and outcome-driven metrics, ODMs, become our compass guiding our investments and effort in cybersecurity. We'll look into that a bit more. Status of major cyber initiatives. This is a progress report on significant cybersecurity projects in our organization and how they align with our strategic goals. And each element here is chosen not to overwhelm, but to empower, to give clarity and oversight. Next slide, please. Now let's see a bit into the how. So let's tackle a common misconception: the sheer number of unpatched vulnerabilities, which we used to have as a metric, isn't that insightful anymore. We cannot just count the issues, we must understand the real-world implications in our business. That's why we must shift from traditional metrics to outcome-driven metrics, like time it actually takes to patch major vulnerabilities, those that pose a genuine risk. And this shift from raw counts to impact-based metrics offers a clear picture of our cybersecurity awareness. Next slide. PLAs, protection level agreements, where the cost and the value of our security investments converge. Various protection levels carry different price tags, and that crucial agreement represented by a handshake between the board and the management determines our commitment. Choosing the right level isn't a shot in the dark. It's a decision informed by industry benchmarks, insurance requirement, contractual obligations with customers, and of course, our own risk appetite. Next. So imagine our PLAs, for instance, as an example, that our PLA is a 14-day safety net for patching up vulnerabilities. If we are hit with an attack on day 20, it's clear we fell short. We should actually do better in the future. But if the hack happens within those 14 days, it's a different story. It means our net wasn't where we thought it was. We thought we were protected when in fact we were not. So it's time to look at the facts, learn, and set a new standard. That's the board critical role, to continuously shape our risk appetite and to ensure that our cybersecurity standards are actually met. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. I think this entire area of actually balancing out so that you try to translate the actions into some kind of financial measure is a very big difference. And it's something that many of us actually can do compared to going down in the details of whether a technical thing is working or not. So I think it's a really interesting way that this is starting to move into. We'll come back and now I'm going to ask Martin to share with us his perspective on the AI risks. Welcome, Martin. And Martin is the president of Securitas Digital, which is fantastic because then he also has partly this and understanding it for a very security-driven organization, but he's also a NED himself at companies, which is a fantastic way to be able to translate some of the jargon for us, Martin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liselotte, and a pleasure to be here. And as a difference, then I actually come from a technology background. I have spent many years in senior IT roles and coming from a CIO position, both previously at Securitas and before that at Husqvarna. And what I've done lately then is to actually translate those experiences into an effort in Securitas to make technology and IT a part of Securitas business, which is going quite well, I think. And one of the reasons for that is, of course, that technology and on the backside of that, security is becoming such a big part of anyone's business these days. So pleasure to be here. I'm going to talk from some personal experience on what I have seen and recommend to be good practices for a board if you want to monitor and manage risk that comes from your company's efforts in the AI space. And when I made these slides and sent them in to Liselotte here, I recognize that I'm making an assumption here that you are in boards of companies who actually have an active AI program. And reflecting on that, I think that my experience is that quite a few companies are still a bit on the fence when it comes to actually stepping into leveraging AI to drive the businesses and to help improve and leverage AI in what they do. And I think that is actually the first step, which I still think that many companies have to come over to not only accept but embrace that AI is vital for any company to stay competitive, and both in the short term but especially in the long term. So if your management teams at the companies where you are at the boards still have not really activated an AI program, have not really yet developed an AI strategy and presented a plan for that to the board, I think that is, of course, where you need to put the initial pressure. And I think going into 2025 soon, it is very much about time for any company to have such in place. But assuming that your companies actually do pursue an AI strategy and they execute on a plan, but you feel that in the board you have a little bit of a struggle to be on top of what is actually going on and what is your role in terms of actually proactively ensuring that AI is approached in the right way, it's managed in a responsible way, and that the company is actually getting results from it. You probably want to feel that you're not only recipients of reports, anecdotal reports, or by all means factual reports out from the company also, but you're actually part of steering the AI development. And it's in that light, I hope that we can spend the next few minutes and discuss that. So if you take the next slide, then I have listed what I think is 5, of course you can argue those, but 5 AI risks, the top AI risk that I think that the board shall actually manage and be on top of. See that a couple of these, or perhaps all of them, are very much complementary to the research that Liselotte shared in the beginning of the call here. But from my perspective, the risks that the board needs to own and manage is firstly the ethical and regulatory compliance risk. Secondly, as we've heard Anna talk about, it is the risk around cybersecurity vulnerabilities and the risk for data breach. Thirdly, it's the operational and automation risk of using AI in your business. Fourth, it is the risk of managing talent and the skills that is necessary to work with AI in a good way. And last, but definitely not least, is the strategic and competitive risk. So let's talk about them one on one. Next slide, please. The ethical and regulatory compliance risk is obvious, of course, and it is a continuation of a risk and governance that has been put in place by regulatory authorities for several years now, which comes from the increased use of data to drive decision-making, even also strategic decision-making in companies. And as Liselotte talked about in the beginning of a call here, more and more of regulations are coming in place, and they are a bit different in Europe compared to other places in the world. but more and more parts of the world are adopting regulations for also the use of AI. And I expect that there will be more also commonality in those regulations. And even if it's not, if you are in a company that works with suppliers or with customers that goes across many geographies, you will see that many of those are actually adopting one or other standard, typically the highest standard like the AI Act in Europe, that you need to comply with if you're a supplier to one of those customers. If you click the button again, from this perspective, I think that what the board shall ensure is that the company has two things in place. One is an AI framework for responsible AI, a governance framework for how to work with AI responsibly, and that is overseen by an AI ethics committee or similar. So the companies should put in place an AI committee, and it should have an AI governance framework in place. That will be a good start to manage and vehicle to manage this risk. We take the next slide, please. If we move to the cyber security and data breach, AI accentuates the cyber risk in two ways, I would say. One is that typically when you develop and deploy AI assets, they are fueled by a collection of data. So an AI model is as good as its data that it runs on. So typically the company have to gather and store and make accessible a lot of data. And typically, the more valuable the AI application, it is actually using even more important or perhaps sensitive company information. So the concentration of data that supports the AI application is a risk in itself. Before AI, companies typically or perhaps did not concentrate AI into a single point in the same way. So the concentration of data makes it an attractive target for cyber attacks. The other part of cybersecurity and AI is actually that the models themselves are susceptible to manipulation, so-called adversarial attacks, that a intruder or someone with malintent actually will attack the model in itself, making the outcomes, the suggestions, the predictions, or whatever the AI system is used for, actually to come with false or misleading results. So those are the two main risks that are new, I would say, in cybersecurity space from an AI perspective. And if you take the next click there, what you can do here is, of course, to implement robust cybersecurity routines and measures specifically for your AI assets, and have a more frequent, regular audit of the AI systems compared to perhaps other IT systems, and to integrate specific AI security controls for the AI assets. One thing that many companies, at least in the early stages, fail is to have just a register an up-to-date view on what the AI assets are. So make sure that you have an inventory of all AI assets and that you mandate from board perspective periodic risk assessments for those. Take the next slide, please. The third risk is, of course, the use of AI in your operations. Everyone, and you definitely know that AI systems may misinterpret the data, and they are susceptible to bias and things like that. And since AI is also typically what you refer to as a black box, that you don't have clarity on exactly how it has come to its recommendation, this creates another risk in this area. So if you take the next click, please. What I recommend here is two things again. One is that there should always be a human person in the loop of an end-to-end process where you have the AI system. So that somewhere along the route, there is a human oversight of the automated AI, or the process that is automated by AI. You should also push for that your company is investing in and implementing what is called explainable AI technologies. That means that when you build your AI tools, you build them in the way that you put in control so that you can actually explain in an audit and after the fact, how has the AI come up with its recommendation and its outcome. Next slide, please. The fourth risk is obvious. It's the talent risk and the skills gap, which is, I think, probably something that everyone is struggling with today, how to find competency when it comes to AI. If we click here, please. Personally, I find that it's two things, again, that I would like to recommend, or three things perhaps. It is recruitment of a small, and what small is dependent on the organization, of course, competency base with AI specialists that has the knowledge to understand what's the opportunity with AI in your organization, that understands your processes, and can you work with external vendors to procure extra AI competency, AI tools, AI support, etc. But to leverage AI more broadly across your company, I see that it's necessary to invest in upskilling and reskilling for your broader people base in the company. Perhaps selecting one or two people in your major geographies and representing your key functions in the company, and invest in training programs, which a lot of organizations and universities, etc., these days have developed. So if you combine a recruitment of a small team of AI specialists that really knows AI and your business, and invest in representative upskilling of your organization in general AI capabilities, I think that is a good start, and that's something the board can push for. If we take the next and last slide, please, then. Of course, this one is the perhaps most important for the board to work with. And as I started to say, I believe that companies that fail to adopt AI efficiently really risk to be outpaced by competitors. I would actually go so far to say that I think you will be outpaced by competitors. So you take a next click, please. I think it's important that the board pushes the group management and the company to both invest in AI to support their business goals long term, but also to support operational efficiency in the short term. Many companies talk about AI investment both as game-changing AI, which really changes your competitive position, and then also perhaps you could call it everyday AI, but how you use AI in the daily job to actually manage your cost and increase your productivity. I think you need to balance your AI strategy to push forward in both dimensions, everyday AI and game-changing AI. And if you do everything like this successfully, Click, please. Click more. Of course, then the board will see results in your company, both as from reputation and trust. You will enhance your brand value, customer loyalty. You will have enhanced security, which means that your stakeholders feel confidence in you. You will actually have operational efficiencies, driving down costs, improve quality, driving productivity. You will have an improved talent pool, which helps you to even further drive innovation. And you will also have, of course, I think there is, in the next few years, 1 to 2 years, I think there will be clarity on what companies that are effectively leveraging AI and those who are not. And I think that we will start to see the company, there will be a spread between those and those that are not. So I hope this gives you a little bit of input to what practically you can advise and take to you into your boards. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martin. I find it so enlightening that you kind of help us go through this very complex area, if you haven't been into the tech area, to actually help us see what is it that we actually now need to start to ask for. And a fantastic way to get us the clarity of that. Now, it's time for everybody. So now it's time for you. And we have 2 questions. So the first one is around, have you actually implemented a principle or policy? And is it confirmed by the board? Or you might not know. So try to get to that question. And the second question is, which of these do you feel, these challenges, do you feel is the biggest challenge for your boards at this time? So that we can get a bit of a, and you are seeing the poll, right? Yeah, good. So let's see where we are in terms of guiding our organizations with frameworks and policies, and where we are in terms of the challenges, what we think the challenges are. So I'll hold it for a couple of more minutes or seconds. And if we can get a little bit more, so I'll stop it now in 5 seconds. I'm ending the poll and I'm sharing the results. So I would like for Martin and Anna to comment. So first, where are we in terms of sharing principles, policies, frameworks? What do you think, Martin? Do you think, I think we can say your speech was really needed. I think we can say that.
Thank you. I'm just reading the poll results as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I think that it's telling, of course, that 2/3 have not introduced principles and AI policies at a company. And I don't know if that is also behind that. I think that it could be that actually the maturity to address and put the AI question formally on the table of the board may play, and actually in the group management may play in here. And if AI is not part of the strategic conversation, of course you are not come to introducing principles and policy. And I'm not sure what is that, but I have a hunch that too many companies still do not have AI as a board or group management topic yet.
I think that's a very good comment. Thank you for that. And then we go to picking the challenges. Anna, do you want to comment on that?
Absolutely. We go to the next
Yeah, you
Poll?
just scroll
To
in
the
your
next
own
poll?
little window.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Now I saw. Definitely. I also believe that it's a bit industry specific, like Martin mentioned. Maybe in some areas, in some industries, AI is either not a direct priority or it is a priority in the value chain of providers or customers. And that also should be taken into account. Maybe in other industries, AI is a must because otherwise they will fall behind in the competitive race. And then they face definitely more challenges because they hurt themselves against the wall of regulations. And in some industries, that's horrendous. It's a lot, really a lot, and demands a lot of resources. And particularly proper governance.
I have an advice that may be controversial, but I think start with doing something with AI, experiment and learn about AI before you focus on the regulations and the governance, etc. Because if you don't do any, if you don't have any practical experience or use cases, I don't think you should start in the regulation area. You need to get the activity going and then apply regulation as you go. And I've seen a couple of discussions in other companies which have been really focused around the best governance framework. And then when being asked what actually AI initiatives, projects and assets do you have? Well, nothing, but it's a very high energy discussion about how to manage the risks.
Yeah.
But actually you don't have any risks because you're not doing anything.
I have a small challenge here because in many organizations, people maybe are not aware that they are using AI. For instance, if you are using Copilot, you have to think about, having some rules in place. Because even using Copilot could give you access to the wrong set of data or undesired effects. So actually, there has to be a mapping of all the applications, IT applications, and understanding whether they use AI or not, because we are surrounded by AI.
I think that's a very good breakaway. Now we will have everybody look into this and discuss. So you can pick one of the two most used challenges that we identified. So they encourage the balance of the development and governance, as also Martin here underlined, or the integration versus the complex regulation. So we're going to divide you into groups, and we are inviting you. You will have about 15 minutes. So agree a chair to lead it, the vice chair to report back to us, and we will have the discussion shared going back. So I'm opening the rooms and we will also bring you back. But if I just thank you so much, everybody. Fantastic sharing. A quick feedback here on the program. Fernanda, do you want to take this?
Yes, very, very quickly. So we are going to open very, very soon the section relative to today's session when it comes to the supervision of the AI capabilities at organizations. We just opened the part around sustainability. So we would really, really encourage you to, go through the lessons, answer the quizzes, work on your reflection plan so that we can make sure that we are on pace when it comes to the program. I just put here now in the chat also we have a very exciting event coming tomorrow already that is not part of the program. Tomorrow at 4. And part of the program, we have the event that was in the previous slide that is going to be now in October. Please make sure that you do at least 50% of the lessons, complete all the quizzes in the platform. We will be asking for a survey with your interventions. Make sure you send that, and hopefully before the 10th of October. And make sure that if you missed some of the events, that you at least look at the recordings. And then we have on the other slides, like I was saying, at this event tomorrow, we really recommend. I think it's going to be super interesting. And we have a couple of events coming up. 4th of October on reporting, on the 5th of November, really embedding sustainability in organization, and the 28th of November, very exciting about the board ESG pulse that we organized together with INSEAD, BCG, and HNS. So please make sure that you keep following our events, and these events in this list are outside of the program. So even if you're not taking the AI program or the sustainability program, you can still join us. Thank you so much for this session. And if you want to stay a few more minutes just to wrap up the discussion, feel free to do so.
And we just want to thank in the warmest way, Anna and Martin, for so generously and interestingly sharing the insights that you had. Warm thanks to Anna and Martin.
A great session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liselotte.
Thank you.
Fernanda, I need to get out.